Sixers fans, how we feeling out there? Hey y'all, my name is Lauren Gordon. Some of you may already know me on social media as Lauren Fan of the Year. Others may have just stumbled upon this podcast. But either way, I want to first thank all of you for tuning in to episode 5 of my very first podcast. I'm just the Sixers fan, the Lauren Fan of the Year story. Now let's continue the story. The time is now the summer of 1988. I had just graduated from high school. The plan was for me to go into the Navy, but I was beginning to have cold feet. I was having second thoughts. I knew that going into the military was honorable, highly respected, and it came with great benefits. But in my spirit, I didn't think this was the right move for me. I told my mom how I was feeling, and she asked me, well, what are you going to do? I told her I was making great money at IKEA, and I would figure it out. I think I was just so burned out from school. I had almost perfect attendance the entire 4 years of high school. From 9th grade to 12th grade, I had only missed like 3 days of school. And I think I just felt like I needed a break from school. My mom said, okay, working at IKEA was great, but you have to do something else. And I agreed. I mustered up the nerve to tell the recruiter that I was no longer interested in going into the military, that I didn't want to move forward in the process. He was very aggressive in his recruiting tactics, but he said nothing that would make me change my mind. Once I had that tough conversation with him, I felt a huge weight was lifted. He was very nice about it, and I did thank him for bringing the flowers to my mom when my sister was born and for being supportive and trying to help me guide my future. But I knew I had to make the best decision for me. One day, I was watching TV and I saw a commercial for Gordon Phillips School of Cosmetology. That was it. I'm going to beauty school. I had spent lots of time in the hair salons, and I spent lots of money getting my hair done, so I knew there was money to be made. My plan was to get my cosmetologist license, open a hair salon, and then ultimately expand with multiple salons and multiple locations. I took the tour at Gordon Phillips, listened to the presentation, and I enrolled for the fall semester. Now that I was done with high school and it was the Sixers off season, I was now able to work at IKEA full time and put in lots and lots of overtime. Larry was a full-time college student, and he too would work lots of overtime over the summer. We would always work it so that we could have our breaks together. And when we weren't working, we were traveling. We went on cruises. We went to Disney World. Nana actually took me to Disney for the first time when I was around 8, but it was different going back as an adult, as a couple. In August 1988, we traded Albert King to the San Antonio Spurs. In September, we signed Scott Brooks as a free agent. Now that it was the fall of the year, I was working at IKEA full-time from open until around 5:30 p.m. I'd grab something to eat, then I'd head to beauty school from 6 to 9:30. I would still find time to spend with my 3 younger sisters. I was helping out my mom because my dad worked a lot. And any time in between, I looked forward to spending it with Larry. We talked about life, our Sixers, of course, and we were talking about our future together. Our plan was to work hard, save our money, and get our own apartment so that we could be together all the time. In October, we traded Everett Steven to the Pacers for Ron Anderson. We also released Mark McNamara. Once we welcomed in 1989, we signed Shelton Jones and Derek Smith as a free agent. We would end the 88-89 season 46-36 under Coach Jim Lynam. This team also had Hersey Hawkins, and we had lost the Eastern Conference first round 0-3 against the Knicks. I always hated losing to the Knicks, even to this day, because I can still hear Chuck's mouth bragging about his Knicks. In August of 1989, the Sixers traded Mo Cheeks, Chris Velp, and David Wingate to the San Antonio Spurs for Johnny Dawkins and Jay Vincent. By the fall of 1989, Larry and I had been dating for almost 2 years. We moved into our first apartment together. It was close to my mom, so I could still spend lots of times with my younger sisters. I remember us picking up furniture and buying everything brand new to start our new life together. We were both very excited to finally be together as a young couple in love. We would finish the 1989-1990 season 53-29. We lost the Eastern Conference semifinals to the Chicago Bulls, led by none other than Michael Jordan, but they would end up losing the Eastern Conference finals to the bad boys, the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons would win the NBA championship, defeating the Portland Trail Blazers. In 1990, Larry and I were both still working at IKEA. Larry would graduate college, and I would graduate Gordon Phillips School of Cosmetology, and I passed my state exam. Instead of getting into the field of cosmetology, I would leave IKEA to pursue a really good opportunity at a really good company. I would be making more money than I could ever imagine at my age, y'all, with no college degree. My mom taught me at a very early age, in order to get anywhere as a Black girl, I would have to work twice as hard to get the same respect and recognition as my white counterparts. I also knew that now I would have to work probably 3 times as hard because I only had a high school diploma and a cosmetologist license to show for it. But y'all, I was never afraid of hard work. My mother trained me early in life to never cut corners or half-ass anything. If my bed wasn't made to her standards, when I came home from school, I would find all of my sheets and blankets yanked off the bed in a pile on the floor. She'd come up behind me and say, "Now make it again. And this time, make it right." And y'all, you better believe I made it right, because my mom had no problems going upside my head. I thought my mom was tough, but looking back, she was preparing me for life. I never backed down from hard work. And as I mentioned in the other episodes, y'all, I am a great student. I absorb information like a sponge. I knew I was ready and well prepared to go into my first job in corporate America. For the 1990-1991 season, we would have players like Manute Bol, Armin Gilliam, and Rick Mahorn. Oh, y'all, good times. Listen, the Charles Barkley, Rick Mahorn duo would later be known as Thump and Bump. Every time they made a great play on the court, they'd come together and boom, a head bump. Y'all, they had great chemistry out there. We ended the 1990-1991 season 44-38, losing again to Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, who would this time beat the Detroit Pistons, and they would go on to win the championship against the Lakers. This would be the first of their three-peat. Later that summer, in July of 91, we signed Charles Shackelford as an unrestricted free agent. Remember him? Okay, let's fast forward to December of 1991. Larry and I both had really good paying jobs. We would refer to ourselves as DINKS, DINKS, which stood for Double Income, No Kids. It was our second year in the apartment, and it was our 4-year anniversary as a couple. And while having our romantic anniversary dinner in the most romantic way, which I will keep personal and private because it was that special, Larry proposed to me. And of course, I said yes. We would end the 1991-1992 season 35-47, y'all. Doug Moe was hired as the Sixers head coach. Jim Lynam's role was reassigned. I was still following and rooting for my Sixers, but I was now planning for a wedding. We set a wedding date for the fall of 1992. Spring of 92, Nana wasn't doing well. I remember her telling me she wouldn't make it to my wedding. I remember laughing, saying, "Nana, stop playing with me. You know you're going to be at my wedding." But y'all, Nana would pass in April of 92. I was devastated. We were so close, and I definitely felt her loss. Nana was the first person that I was really close to pass. I was sad about losing Nana in April. 2 months later, in June, I would tell Larry that we were expecting. Larry and I were both very excited. We always talked about starting a family, and we knew we would both be great parents. We just wasn't expecting it this soon. Also in June of 92, we traded Charles Barkley to the Phoenix Suns for Jeff Hornacek and Tim Perry. We would draft Clarence Weatherspoon in the first round of the 92 draft, and everyone was calling him Baby Barkley, mostly because of his body type, but no disrespect to Spoon. While he was a really good player, he was no Charles Barkley. Side note, I have a great photo with Clarence Weatherspoon on my social media page. There was a lot of stuff going on in 92. In fact, y'all, this would also be the year that Magic Johnson came out with his HIV announcement. This is also the year of the 92 Olympics in Barcelona, where the men's basketball team, known as the Dream Team, won the gold medal. So now I was working, pregnant, planning a wedding, and we were house hunting. I told Larry we had to invite the Sixers to our wedding. The Sixers had been such a huge part of our life. Larry's first words to me was, "Sixers!" And our first date was a Sixers game. So I sent a wedding invitation to each player. I just thought, how great would it be to have Johnny Dawkins, Tim Perry, Jeff Hornacek, Ron Anderson, and Kenny Payne come to our wedding. Y'all, I was only 22, and we bought our first house and went to settlement and moved into the new house the week before our wedding. I was pregnant during our wedding and was so grateful for such a beautiful ceremony and reception, even though none of the Sixers players RSVP'd. Larry and I would listen to Power 99 FM every morning while getting ready for work. There are always radio contests, right? But one morning, they announced a contest that caught my attention and made me light up like a Christmas tree. The contest was who had the best answering machine recording. The winner would receive a Sixers Red Bull prize pack. Y'all have to remember, this is before cell phones. We only had landlines, and we would have to have answering machines attached to our landline phone. We would have to make our recording on a small tape recorder for callers to hear before leaving a message in the event we didn't answer the phone. So me and Larry's voice message on our answer machine was in the style of Run DMC, where he would say a line, I would say a line, and we would sync up on the line, and we had like this little rap, right? So it's hard doing this, y'all, as a solo, but you'll get the gist of it. So this is how it went, y'all. Hello, you have reached Lauren and Larry's phone. Unfortunately, we are not home, but if you leave a brief message after the tone, we'll gladly get back to you when we return to our throne. Beep. People would call us, y'all, tell us not to answer the phone just so they could hear our rap recording. So I called Power 99. Surprisingly, I got through on the first try. I gave them our phone number. They said they would call back and not to answer the phone. So they called, they heard our recording, they applauded and said they were going to listen to the other submissions and then make their decision. Well, y'all, we won the contest, of course. Now, I'm not saying our rap recording was great, but compared to the other submissions, it was. So, y'all, the Sixers prize pack included a pair of season tickets for the upcoming 1993-1994 season. It also included parking passes, food vouchers, and because it was also sponsored by Red Bull, the prize pack also included Red Bull sweatsuits, a basketball, and y'all, I can't remember what the value was, but it was a lot because I remember I had to claim it on my taxes. Well, anyway, y'all, the fact that I was able to call the radio station, get through, and win the contest was wild because I always believed if there was anything pertaining to the Sixers, no one could out-Sixers me, and I had the best chance to win. So, y'all, we ended the 1992-93 season with a dismal 26-56 record. Y'all, we sucked. And on March 7th, we fired Doug Moe and hired Fred Carter as head coach. Y'all remember this? Well, y'all, a week later, I would give birth to my first daughter, Kirby. And when I went to my 6-week checkup, y'all, I found out I was pregnant again with twins. We had Sixers season tickets for the 1993-1994 season. We drafted Sean Bradley, first round, second pick. And we had traded Hersey Hawkins for Dana Barros. I remember Larry and I would go to the games at the Spectrum, and it was entertainment that we looked forward to. And the only cost, y'all, was the gas to get there. And y'all, I was pregnant with twins. So Kirby would sit on Larry's lap during the games. And I went to them games for as long as I could go with this big old belly with a baby that wasn't even a year yet. And y'all, in January of 1994, I would go into early labor and I would have the twins, my daughter Corey and my son Larry Jr., who we call LJ. And y'all, what's crazy is I had the twins on Larry's birthday. Y'all, I can't make this stuff up. This is true story. Once the twins came along, we would give away the tickets. The Sixers weren't that good, y'all, so the tickets didn't have much value, so it just made sense to give them away so they wouldn't go to waste. Childcare was so expensive, even back in the early 90s, so it made sense for me to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. And I'm forever grateful to Larry for working so hard to allow me to stay at home to raise our 3 babies until they were old enough to go to preschool. I didn't mind leaving my job either. I remember talking to a coworker in the break room, and I asked her if she watched basketball and followed the Sixers. And y'all, she looked me dead in my eyes like I was crazy and said, "Why in the world would I watch a bunch of black guys run up and down the court?" And y'all, I was shocked. Because keep in mind, I'm like 22, and this is like a grown-ass woman in like a high position. And I didn't even know how to respond. And remember, I thought of myself as a Sixers ambassador, and all I wanted to do was spread Sixers love. But I knew at that point, I would not be able to reach everyone. I don't focus on negative things, but y'all, I will never forget that. Now, on the flip side, there was a male coworker who knew how much I loved the NBA. And one day he came to my desk and handed me a Michael Jordan rookie card. Now, y'all, don't get me wrong. I wasn't a Michael Jordan fan, and I wasn't a Chicago Bulls fan, but I was still appreciative and grateful that he thought of me because he knew I still talked about the NBA a lot. So I thanked him, and I took the card, and with a push pin, I stuck the card to my bulletin board. Y'all, he was mortified. Y'all, I didn't know much about preserving trading cards. So what's funny is the next day when I came to work, he was able to press out the little pinhole that I had put in the card with the push pin, and he put it in a really nice acrylic case. And that's when I realized the importance of preserving my Sixers memorabilia. And what's crazy is right now, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me later, but if he's listening to this podcast, he'll remember giving me that Michael Jordan rookie card and putting it in the acrylic case for me, which I still have. Oh, anyway, thank you. So just like that, at the age of 23, I was a homeowner, a loving wife, and a full-time stay-at-home mom of 3. The twins were born in January of 1994. I would turn 24 a month later in February. Larry and I couldn't travel like we used to, but we would make trips to Virginia to see my in-laws. Larry was born and raised in Newport News, Virginia. That's where he graduated high school, and that's where most of his family still lived. Of course, whenever we came to Virginia and we got together, we would always talk basketball. His younger cousins would tell me about their friend Chuck, who was this great athlete. He was good at football, he was good at basketball, and he was about to go to Georgetown University. They was like, "Listen, he is really good. He might make it in the NBA one day." I was like, I don't really follow college basketball like that, but I'll put him on my radar. And I was like, his name is Chuck. I can remember that because I had a friend in high school named Chuck. Well, what is his last name? And I was told, nah, we call him Bubba Chuck. His government name is Allen Iverson.